if these
Oh,
folks are getting on and they're getting ready.
yeah, we're ready to go, Coach Bert.
So good evening, everybody. I am down at my and voila, just like that, I'm down at my office in Florida. Okay, and I was sending a picture to Mike White a minute ago, and down here in Florida, Les Walden. I don't know if you've been down here or not, but the average sale of a house in the community down here where I have a house is the average house starts at about $2.9 million. Those are the average ones, folks. And then you get up on the ocean, and they get up in the 10 million to 20 million range. And my buddy Chuck McDowell, who I was with yesterday, he's got a new show coming out on Netflix. He actually sold his house on the ocean for the largest price on 30A in Seaside for 20, I believe $22 million. And he bought that house for 14 million. And he asked for 25. He was going to sell it for 25 million, which would have been a markup of 11 million. And I think he ended up getting between 18 and 22. But I think that's still a pretty good flip, wouldn't you guys say?
I think that's a
14,
win, coach.
pick up 4 million or 5 million, and I think it's a pretty good flip on a house, folks. But not many people are flipping $14 million houses. So, the funny story is I used to have a condo in Panama City Beach, which is about 30 minutes away. It was a two-bedroom condo. I bought that condo for $300,000 or somewhere around there. I had four partners on it. We rented it, and I decided I wanted to buy them all out. So I bought all those partners out, and it was on the fifth floor, and I could sit there at my kitchen table and I'd write books, and I would look out at the ocean, and the sun would just glisten down on the ocean. And I thought, man, I made it. Tim Nelson, here's what I told myself. I made it. I'm in a $300,000 condo. I got a little two-bedroom. I'm on the ocean. And then one day, Jerry, one of my friends who had sold his company for $13 million, called me and said, come over to my house over in Seaside. And I said, well, where is Seaside? And he said, well, it's just down the road from you. And I came over, and he would walk around all day in his he was 36 years old. He sold his company for 13 million at 36. He would walk around in a robe and flip-flops and sandals all day. And he said, Bert, you work too hard for the money you make. You're working too hard for the money you make. And then he would say, the difference between me and you? And I'd say, what is that? He said, you're fishing for bluegills in the local lake, and I'm fishing for blue marlins in the Gulf of Mexico. And that is where bluegill and blue marlin came from. How many of you guys have ever heard me talk about that? Right? He said, here he is at 36 years old. He sold his company for 36 million. He's walking around in a robe and sandals all day. And I'm thinking, where did this go wrong for me? Like I have grinded it out my whole life. And I did it the hard way. And he said to me, Bert, the biggest problem with you is you work way too hard for the money you make. And the difference is you're fishing for bluegills, and I'm fishing for blue marlins. And I've never forgot that. So that became part of our selling system, is that you could wake up every day and you could solve small problems and you make small amounts of money. You could wake up and solve big problems and you make big amounts of money. Does everybody understand that? Yeah. And you get to decide if you're going to fish for bluegills or if you're going to fish for blue marlins. Now, coincidentally, there's about, I don't know, 30 to 40 miles of beach here called 30A. It's where we do our couples retreats. It's where me and my wife do our couples retreats at our house down here. And so I got an office here, and there's 4,000 real estate agents competing for 30 to 50 miles of real estate. 4,000 trying to sell houses in a stretch of 30 to 50 miles between Destin and Panama City Beach called 38. Now, that's some serious competition in a concentrated area. And that's what we would call commoditization or creative destruction. It's where too many people are competing in the same space. So trying to separate yourself is very, very important. Okay. So, but one day I came over here and it was almost like I went to another world. Have y'all ever been exposed to something? Like, I didn't even know this place exists. Like, like I thought I had made it. Okay. Eric, remember when you come down here for the couples retreat, what kind of place this was? Have you ever been anywhere like that before? No. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like I didn't even know places like this existed. It's beautifully manicured and everybody's riding their bikes and their golf carts. I'm like, it's a freaking It's
It
a
was
fantasy.
awesome.
It's like, yeah, it's like Fantasy Island. And I go, now this is where I need to be. That's what I went back and told my wife. I said, we need to figure out how to get over there. Okay. And we did figure out how to get over here. And so when you think about it, that's really what I'm trying to teach you tonight, because people ask me all the time, Austin Buchanan, the number one question I get asked is, how did you go from a high school basketball coach to owning $25 million worth of real estate to playing at bigger levels to whatever? They ask me every day, how did I buy a private jet? That's what people want to know. These are things they want to know, right? Like, how did you do this? And when you think about it, I did it over a long cycle of obedience and time. When you hear me say long obedience in the same direction, what I was really saying is for 33 years, I got up every day and went to battle. Whether I felt like it, whether I didn't feel like it, whether I wanted to make a call, whether I liked people that day or didn't like people that day, I just got up and I kept doing it. And I kept making calls and I kept following up and I kept building relationships and I kept working the system. And then one day you wake up and you go, man, we've done some pretty cool things. Any of you ever felt like that? You don't think about it when you're doing it, but you wake up and you go, man, how did we do this? Like, this is incredible. And so I don't celebrate a lot. I don't take time to celebrate because I'm on to the next play. The prey drive in me needs a new game to play. How many of you need a new game to play? You need a new championship to win. You need a new trophy to pursue. You've done big things, right? And by the way, some of the things I talk about is nothing in comparison to some of my buddies. I mean, some of my buddies own $1 billion of real estate or $100 million of real estate. So I am totally humble and teachable and coachable. And when I was sitting with Chuck McDowell yesterday, who owns a $100 million company, I'm learning. I'm there to learn. I'm there to ask questions. I'm there to engage. I'm hungry. I'm humble. I'm teachable. I'm not, I'm right. He likes playing pitch and catch with me because I'm young and hungry, but the main thing is I'm there to learn. So I wrote down some questions tonight before we get into the intensity. Because tonight we're going to get into intensity. Where does intensity come from? How many of you noticed that some people, to move a Jerry term, attack like cheetahs, and some people attack like turtles? Right? I meet people and I put them into one or two categories: cheetahs or turtles. Right? And I can't tell you, I see a whole lot more turtles than I do cheetahs, folks. Okay, I see a whole lot more. Jerry's got a book called "What Run with the Cheetahs," right? And that is a great title because the cheetahs are the fastest animals in the animal kingdom. Cheetahs have a 60% closing ratio. I know because I wrote a book many years ago called Zebras and Cheetahs. So when Jerry gave me his book, I'm like, man, I get it. A cheetah is fierce. A cheetah is fierce. It wakes up and it moves. Okay. So I was thinking before we get in intensity, when I was doing my notes today on the plane for tonight, I thought, here's the questions I want you to really ask yourself. What are you really learning about yourself during this 3-night series? All of us have missing structures. All of us. And a missing structure is a gap. It's a void. Some of us have a missing structure in knowledge. Some of us have a missing structure in skill. Some of us have a missing structure in prey drive. Some of us have a missing structure in confidence, or what I talked about last night, remarkable boldness. Okay. And you could go, man, I'm going to tell you what I'm learning about myself. I know how to activate my drive, but I don't know how to persist with the drive. Right? I got a big engine, but I'm in the wrong vehicle. The vehicle can't get me to my goals. Right? And I spend a lot of time thinking about the vehicle. Okay. And if you're going to do the A to B exercise, I tell people do the A to B exercise, Tara Mills, on a Friday night when you're really frustrated. See, I do A to B on Friday nights after a hard week, and I'm like, dang, what did I do this week? Like, why did I do all that stuff? This is what I really want to do. See, I really want to live down here 90 days out of the year. I love being down here. I ride my golf cart to my office. It's beautiful, right? I go over to the ocean for lunch and sit on the ocean and think. Like one of my big goals is to live at our house in Florida 90 days out of the year. Now you say, well, why don't you do that? Well, we have kids and the kids go to schools, public, private schools, and they have to go to school. So it's like, we can't just leave them. for 90 days out of the year. Okay. So it's like, but one of my goals one day, I asked my wife one day, I said, what are we going to be doing 20 years from today? Because I'm 47. I'll be 67 20 years from today. And by the way, my youngest daughter will only be 20. When I'm 67, she'll be 20. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, dang, we're never going to be empty nesters, right? I'm going to be 75 before our kids even move out of the house. Now, here's my point. But on Friday night, when you're tired and you're frustrated and you didn't it didn't hit the shots you wanted to hit this week, you start going, what do I really want to do? See, that's when the dreamer really opens up. The frustration will actually activate the prey drive. Do that exercise on Friday night, A to B. Put A on one side and B on the other. Okay. And B is your ideal place. This is if I woke up tomorrow and was doing exactly what I wanted to do, what would it look like? And then do that exercise again on Sunday morning when your mind is fresh, when you've had a day off, when your dreamer's opening up. See, a lot of you reach out to me via text or call. I even answered the phone today. I know Marceline Anderson was on there. Kelly, Marceline was so excited to get to talk to me. And because I answer the phone a lot, people say, "Is this really Coach Burt?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I answer the phone when people call." Now, so a lot of you will reach out to me and say, "This is what I really want to do. This is what I'm currently doing, and this is what I really want to do." And there is a gap between what you're currently doing and what you would like to do. And if anything during this series, you should be asking yourself, what is my missing structure? I don't have the knowledge I need. I don't have the skills I need. I don't have the desire that I need. I don't have the boldness that I need. I can't, for whatever reason, I can't get into action. I wore this shirt tonight about commitment because the number one thing people can't do every day is commit. They literally cannot make a decision. They can't make a decision and back a decision up. They just, so they live in a world of indecision. And the word decide means to kill something off. So what are you really learning about yourself during this cycle? Are you an amateur or are you a pro? Okay. Are you playing at the pro level? Or are you making the pro money? And if you're not, then what is keeping you from getting there? And how long do we have to have this talk? Like, how long do we need to think about it, sleep on it, and pray about it? And right, it's like, so number one question is, what is this teaching you? Number two, have you allowed yourself to go complacent in an area of your life? And remember, I said complacency sometimes is an unknowing. You don't even know that you're complacent. You don't even know that you've allowed yourself to get to this place. And that is dangerous to your future because something's going to come along in your future that you're not ready for. There's going to be an opportunity that you're not ready for. There's going to be a financial hit that you're not ready for. There's going to be something that throws you a curveball. And all those years, right? All those years that you've been wasted being complacent, it's not going to prepare you to pounce on that opportunity like a cheetah would, right? A cheetah sits in the jungle and it watches and it stalks and then it pursues, right? That's what a cheetah does. It knows what it wants and it goes and gets it. And guess how often it goes and gets it? Every day. Every day, right? And this is how you got to think, okay? Number three, has your prey drive gone dormant? You know how many people that I meet that had a prey drive at some point? They had a fight. They had a drive. They had an energy. They had a momentum. They had a, it's like, man, they used to, I hear this, I used to a lot. I used to prospect every day. I used to get up and go get it every day. I used to, man, I remember back when I used to follow up 7 times. I used to follow up 7 to 15 times. And then I made a little bit of money. Satisfied needs never motivate. Only unsatisfied needs. Okay. Only unsatisfied needs, which means once you achieve a goal, you need to set a new goal. Okay. You need to set a new target. So have you allowed your prey drive to go dormant? And then we've talked about how to get in environments, how to have exposure. Okay. How to be reactivated. Question number 4. I wrote, are you living with a low grade fever? How many of you have ever heard me say you can live with a low grade fever for a long time? You know what I'm saying? You can just be okay for a long time. And when I say a long time, If you study The Five Regrets of the Dying, it's a very hard book to read by Bronnie Ware. But Bronnie spent the last 12 weeks with people, lots of people, like hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people. And she asked them the same question. What regrets did you have? Now, Dan Pink came out with a book called The Power of Regret. And what he talked about is that if you regret something enough, it'll cause you to change your behavior. Everybody see that? Because you hear people say, I want to live my life with no regrets. Well, sometimes we screw something up so bad, it's like, I ain't never doing that again. It's a big screw up, okay? And he talked about two regrets, if onlys and at least. Okay, if only I'd have worked harder. If only I'd have pushed. If only I would have done this. If only I would have done this. Or at least I gave it a shot. At least I was in the game. At least I pushed. Now, what's interesting is they polled Olympians, gold medal Olympians, and obviously the person that wins doesn't have any regrets because they won. But the number two person had if only regrets. If only I would have just worked just a little bit harder, I would have been first versus second. If only I would have had a little bit more discipline. Number three, the bronze medalist had at least regrets. At least I'm in the top three. At least I made it to the stage. This is how people think. There's number one, number two sitting there going, man, just a couple more, I'd have done it. Number three is at least I made it, right? That's how a lot of people think. Well, at least I'm one of the top people. So are you living with a low-grade fever? And in 4 and 5, do you need a thunderbolt? If you ask me what most people need that I coach, I call it a thunderbolt. And I got that from Pat Riley in his book, The Winner Within, which was, in my opinion, one of the best books, sports books ever written. And he talked about a sudden, unexpected jolt of energy. It's like we're just going on at a comfortable pace, and we need something to come along in our life and shake us up. Now, unfortunately, for so many people, it's a negative thing. Something has to cause a pain in our life. And where there's no pain, there's no change many times. The pain is a frustration. Something comes along in your life and you get so frustrated, you do something about it. And unfortunately, that's how most humans are wired. We are more motivated to move because of pain. So if you're ever selling anything, I teach my salespeople to talk about the pain, to make people relive the pain. How long are you going to stay there? How long have you been talking about it? How long have you thought about going pro? How sick are you of doing what you're doing? Okay? Like, when are you going to shift gears? Because if you don't relive the pain in the sales cycle, many times people will not take an action. I would love to tell you that people are motivated by potential, but very few people are motivated by potential. So when I'm talking to people, I make them relive the pain. How many years are you going to talk about this? How long are you going to live here? Like, at what point do you make a decision and back that decision up with a commitment? Like we've been talking about this for years, right? So it's like, it's time. And I spend a lot of my time giving people courage, giving people a shot of confidence. It's like, come on, man, let's go do this. Okay. And then, so what are you willing to do with this tension, right? So the thunderbolt is needed when you feel stuck, plateaued, or you're looking for a jolt of energy. You're looking for a jolt of energy. Okay. And a lot of people need this thunderbolt. So people always ask me, where does the thunderbolt come from? And I wrote down 5 places a thunderbolt comes from. Number 1, letting go of something that's comfortable. Letting go of something that is comfortable. The enemy of prey drive is comfort. I'm comfortable. I'm making a good living. I got a good life. I got good kids. I got a good house. I drive a good car. That is the enemy of being reactivated. Okay? So number 1 is you got to let go of something to have something new. You got to let go. And you know what some people need to let go of? Fear, insecurity, doubt, worry, anxiety, friction, vacillation. Like, these are things you need to let go of. Some people need to let go of some relationships. Some people need to let go of who you hang around. Some people need to let go of the environment you are in. Some people need to let go. So You need to let go of something that's comfortable. That creates a thunderbolt. Number two, being introduced to somebody new. See, I went back and looked. At 18, I was introduced to Covey, right? At 25, I was introduced to another person. At 28, I was introduced to a business coach. At 31, I was introduced to Sullivan. 35 or 36, I don't know, I was introduced to Cardone. At this, like along my life, I kept getting introduced to new people that I was fascinated by. I'm like, man, that dude is so much more skilled than me. He knows something I don't know. And I'm hungry to go get it. I'm hungry to be around him, right? I'm hungry to go learn. Okay. What I see a lot of people do, Kelly, is a bunch of low-level producers hang out with other low-level producers, and they massage each other's mediocrity, right? It's like that's the wrong group for you to be in. You need to say, I want to level up to a new group. So you need to meet somebody new. Okay. The next thing you need is you need a new bee. You need a new bee to pursue. A bee is an ideal target. Okay. I don't like yearly goals. I like daily goals. Okay. And a lot of people will tell me, well, I got quarterly goals. Well, 90 days, like it's hard for people to stay focused for 90 days. What about today? What is your goal today? Now, there's two types of goals. There's activity and there's results. Okay. And Covey called them lead indicators and lag indicators. Lead indicators are what am I going to do today to go pursue this goal? Lag indicators is what did I actually do? So what actions am I going to take to produce a target? This is why I taught you the selling system, the hit list, the farm club, the top 25. It's a tactical system. Okay. To go and produce leads. All right. So, but you need a new game to play, a new bee. Now, Natalie and I ride up to the beach on our golf cart, and there's a house up on the ocean that I don't know what happened. They got in an argument with the contractor, and somebody sued somebody. So the house has literally been sitting there for 2 years. And I'm thinking, so every time I ride by that house, I go, that's our house up on the ocean right there. Right? That's our house up on the ocean right there. See, that produces a bee, produces a vision. What do we got to do to get up there? What do we got to do to move up there? Well, we got to get our sales up. We got to get our profits up. We got to get our work ethic up. We got to get this up. We got to get our vision up. Okay. That's a new bee. That's a new game to play. Okay. And then the final one is maybe you need a changing of the environment. The thunderbolt changes the environment. Okay. Now, much of what I'm talking about is not possible for most people until they get one thing right, money, till they get their money right. Much of what we talk about is not possible for people until they learn the skill of selling and creating and follow-up and conversion and closing. And that is prey drive. Okay. So I want you to think of intensity tonight as we're going to see something. We're going to lock in like a dog locks into a bone. And we're going to see something through to its logical conclusion. And you say, well, what do we got to see through to its conclusion? A dream that you've talked about for years. A key relationship of somebody who can help you. A vision that you have manifested. Right? Like have you locked in to following up and following through until you bring a deal to a close? And when I wrote $1 Million Follow-Up, Dr. B, it was really on leads. But then after teaching it for years, I go, it's not just on leads. What about the dreams that you have? What about the visions you have for your life? What about the people who could help you that you don't follow up with? And you have these glimpses, and right? It's like, oh, that person could help me, and I could help that person, but you never follow up. They're called inspired impressions. It's like you got an impression that a person can help you. Okay. And you never know because you don't follow up on it. So to get your money right, you got to build a business that hits its numbers and that the business actually gives you some excess cash at the end of every month. A business is not a business if it doesn't give you any excess cash at the end of every month. And 28 million or 33 million small businesses in the United States. Average of those businesses roughly 47,000 a year, somewhere around there. There is no excess cash. And if there's no excess cash, guess what you can't do? You can't invest. You can't grow. You can't get better. You can't expand. So the first pray drive you need is, how do I get this business clicking at a level that it would give me excess cash? Now, people always ask me, how did you build wealth? And here's what I did. I started my coaching business. I had one employee. I grew that business for 3 or 4 years. So I was making, I don't know, $500,000 or $600,000 of revenue. And I was just stacking that money away. Boom, boom. And then I remember when I had $100,000 of cash in my bank account. Okay. Raise your hand if you've ever had $100,000 of cash in your bank account. Cash. Be honest. Come on, folks. Be honest. All right. See, we got our first goal. And I had $100,000 of cash in my bank account. And I go, damn, where did that come from? And I mean, it was really like, I looked in there one day, I was like, I can't believe it. I got $100,000 of cash. And I'm like, what do I need to do? And I went to my buddy, Tommy Davidson, my best friend, one of my best friends. He's a real estate agent. He said, you ought to be buying single family residential. And I go, okay, go find me some single family residential. And he went and bought me 4 single family residential houses, 1 duplex. Now I had 4 houses. I bought them all for under 100,000. I put 20,000 down on each one of them. I sat on those puppies for 3 years, and then I sold them at a good time, and I made $300,000 of profit. Then I had $400,000 of cash sitting in the bank, and I'm like, well, dang, now I got $400,000. What should I do with this? And I go, I'm going to go buy this lodge. And I went and bought the lodge out in Christiana, and I put down $293,000 of cash on that deal. I bought it for $1.3 million, and then I used the lodge to do events, and we generated $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 off that investment in the first 6 months to a year. And I go, this is a good investment. All the real estate's appreciating. Other people are paying it down. It's building my net worth. And it's like, how did this happen? People go back to the beginning. And I said, well, what in the beginning? Guess what I did, guys? I just worked my ass off for about 5 straight years until I actually had some excess money. Everybody with me? Okay. And then I took the excess money, started buying real estate with it. And then it just kept perpetuating. And then I bought a house in Seaside, Florida for 1.66 million, sold that house for 2.6 million. Okay. That's $1 million of profit. Okay. Now that's a good buy. Yes or no? Bought it for 1.6, sold it for 2.6. Now I made $1 million. Now I got $1 million. I'm like, dang, look at all this money. This is crazy. But it all started because I had the pray drive to get up every day and go build my coaching business. Does everybody understand that? And I was willing to do things other people wasn't willing to do. Follow up, make 7 to 15 touches, do videos every morning that I didn't want to do. Okay. Like I just was willing to just have an intensity and just push. And then I started going, man, I'm looking for a bigger play. How many of y'all are looking for a bigger play? And I kept having this dream about the Greatness Factory. And I bought that building for 3.6 million. It appraised at 7.3 million. And I go, okay, now I'm in the big leagues. Now I'm in downtown Nashville. Now I'm in the commercial real estate business. And I didn't just dip my toe in the water with a little crappy commercial real estate building. I went all in and built something crazy. Everybody with me? Now, Eric, guess what that does to my pray drive every day? Come off mute and tell me what it does to my pray drive every day.
Yeah. It drives you. It drives you to do more.
That's right. Because all you need is about a $35,000 a month payment, folks, to motivate your pray drive. Everybody with me? So now I got a $35,000 note to the bank, and it's like, I got to get up and I got to fill this Greatness Factory up. I need to be on the phone. I need to be calling people. I need to be hosting events. I got to fill up my offices. I got to get this co-working going. I need to be marketing. Like what it did for me is it kept me in a motivated posture because I kept setting these bigger goals. Everybody see that? And then it's like, I'm not failing. I'm not going back. I'm not going back to the old Coach Burt. I got big goals. I got big commitments. And now this pray drive has been activated. And now I've got these targets that need intensity. I need to have an intensity. I got to close deals. I got to help people. I got to go out in the world and get motivated. Now, if you keep perpetuating these little bitty goals, you're never going to have any intensity. Because what you do is you meet your needs, and satisfied needs never motivate people. Only unsatisfied needs. Does everybody see that? So what happens is you make a little bit of money, you get comfortable, your prey drive is suppressed, and you just keep perpetuating this cycle. Okay. Now, I remember doing an event with Grant Cardone in Riviera Maya, Mexico, 2014, 2015. And it was one of the original 10Xs. There was only 75 people there. And he kept talking about, he lost his dad when he was 10. He lost his older brother. His older brother passed away when he was, I think, 20. And he was in a perpetual downhill cycle. Drugs, low budget people, trouble, problems. And he went to rehab. Then he got out of rehab, and the guy at rehab said, "You'll never become anything." He said, "Your number one goal is just to try to stay sober. If you could just stay sober and not do drugs or whatever, or just," he said, that's all you're ever going to do with your life." That's what the guy at rehab told him, and that infuriated him. It activated his prey drive. But as he got out, he kept going to counseling and therapy, and the counselors kept saying, "You're grieving the loss of your dad. You're grieving the loss of your brother." And he said at 43 years old, 41, 43, he said, "I woke up one day and I figured out what I was really grieving." He said, "I did grieve the loss of my brother. I did grieve the loss of my dad, but I was really grieving wasting 15 to 20 years of my life doing nothing. That's what I was really grieving. I was grieving my lost potential." Everybody see that? And that's a big thing to grieve. It's like, man, I got this gnawing at me because I'm grieving because I am playing at such a freaking low level in comparison to what I am really capable of. And he said, once he figured that out, boom, he flipped a switch. And once he flipped the switch, he's like, I'm going to be somebody. I'm going to be somebody one day, right? And that had been there his whole life, but he didn't quite really get it till like 40 something years old. So it's like when you think about intensity, I look at it like, how many days do you have on planet Earth? And if the average person is living, average male is living to 80, 78, and the average female is living to 82 to 83, if you calculated how many days that is on planet Earth, it's not a lot of days. You see what I'm saying? Like it's in the thousands. It ain't like 500,000. It's like 10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000. That's how many days, right? And so intensity comes from knowing I have a long way to go. I got big things left to do, and I got no time for anything small. I got no time for drama. I got no time for wasting time. I got no time for living below the line. I got no time for this. And I'm going to push every day. I'm going to push as hard as I can every day. And I'm gonna leave it all empty, man. I'm gonna leave it all on the floor. I don't have anything left to give. Everybody see that? Like I've given everything I got to give. I'm out. So when you think about this, the money is a byproduct of the value you create. Okay, you don't want the money, you want what the money can buy. But money follows energy. Money follows movement. Money follows circulation. So the more I moved and the more I circulated, the more money I generated. And then I started setting these targets. Man, we're going to do $25,000 a day. Man, we're going to do $41,000 a day. And I remember having an employee, Kelly, about 10 years ago. I said, we're going to do $833,000 a month. And he stood up right in the middle of the meeting and said, I quit. You've lost your damn mind. And he walked right out the door. Now, I think the dude was on cocaine, but hey, I always wonder why I was so excited when he was selling. The dude could sell like crazy, but he was all over the place. I mean, it's crazy. And then I figured out he had a drug problem. Now, but my point is there, I had these goals and these dreams, and I started talking about them. And a lot of people thought I was crazy. They literally thought I was crazy. They're like, man, there ain't no way you're going to hit these kind of numbers. I mean, this is crazy. And he was right. We couldn't hit those numbers back in those days. But it didn't mean we couldn't start talking about it. And it didn't mean we could, right? First, we talk about things. And then we manifest things. And the more we think about it and the more we talk about it, the more it begins to happen. But see, some of you are not talking about it and you're not thinking about it and you're not around people who are doing it and you're trying to figure out why you're not doing it. You're not talking about it. You don't believe you could do it. You're not around people who are doing it. You know, the first step for me, Eric, I like Eric. I keep going back to him because man, I like his heart and I like his prey drive. But you know what happened to me when I got around people over here in watercolor? I'm like, man, I like this. I like this. This is something I've never seen before. Remember, I was going to the Best Western growing up with the indoor swimming pool. That's the reason we went there. I wasn't coming to Seaside, Florida. Okay. And people walk around in their robes and flip flops. You know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't what I grew up going, but I like this is a whole different world I've never been to. If you've never been to New York City, you don't even know what kind of opportunities out there in the world, right? I hear people talk about Chicago, about how dangerous Chicago is. I love downtown Chicago. I love it. It is one of the coolest, most inspiring places. I just get out and walk and look at the architecture. If you've never been to Miami and see the pace and intensity that Miami goes at, and the high rises and the water and right. If you've never been, you know, I did an event up in the Hollywood Hills at this big mansion with Tim Story. We're up in the mountains overlooking Hollywood. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, man, if you never see these things, you never know what is out there in the world for you to go pursue, right? You just do the same thing. The brain is lazy, just wakes up and does the same thing over and over. I go to my job, I go home, I go to this, I go to that. See, these things activate the prey drive. So to get the money right, you need to hit your sales targets and you need to get serious about hitting your sales targets. Okay, to get your money right, you need to have a real customer acquisition system, which we teach called tactical connection. Like that's a boot camp I do because it's a clear system to generate leads and work the leads and follow up. Okay, and then you need the prey drive to follow up and convert. And prey drive to me is 7 to 15 touches to close a deal. It's not one touch. It's not, well, I tried to call them and I didn't get them on the phone. It's like, how creative can you be to get a person on the phone to spend a few minutes with them? How much speed do you have to a lead? How skilled are you at convincing a person to take an action because of your conviction? See, until we get this right, until we have this intensity, we play defense a lot. We sit and we play defense. Okay? We sit and we play defense. And defense doesn't win championships. Offense wins championships. Okay? So I wrote down intensity is ferocity of attack. Ferocity of attack. It's not the big that eat the small. It's the fast that eat the slow. Okay? It's not the big that eat the small. Every big star was once a little star that wanted to be big. Okay? It's not the big that eat the small. It's the fast that eat the slow. So intensity to me is locking into something and locking into something and then seeing it something through to its natural conclusion or what I call logical conclusion. Okay? It is a combination of persistence and action. Persistence, phase 2 of prey drive, and action. You know, one thing that's never led me wrong in my life. Never. Action. There's a lot of things that have led me wrong, but taking action has never led me wrong. Right? I think it was Churchill or Roosevelt who said the best thing you can do is take the next right action. The second thing you can do is take a wrong action. But the worst thing you could ever do is take no action. Everybody see that? The best thing to do is to make the next right action. FDR. Yep. The second thing you can do is take an action even if it's wrong. The third thing you can do, and the worst thing you can do, is to take no action. Now, I'm going to tell you something that separates people. They see people who can help them, but they don't move toward those people. You know who can help you move from A to B, don't you? I mean, if we were sitting here in my office and I really ask you, do you really know who could help you get to where you want to go? And most of you do. You know. but you don't do anything with it. You just sit and think about it. That's right, Sterling. Right? I had a neighbor who was a motivational speaker named Gail Stoner. That's an interesting name for a motivational speaker, isn't it? Gail Stoner. And he didn't know me, but somehow I figured out that he was a motivational speaker. And I was living in a 2-bedroom condo. I was a high school basketball coach. And guess what I did, Kelly? I walked over to his door one night and I knocked on his door. And I said, Mr. Stoner, I'm Coach Burt. I'm your neighbor. I'm the head coach at Riverdale High School. And I have a desire to travel around the world and motivate people. And I understand you do that for a living. Would you spend a few minutes with me? And he said, I would love to. And he came in and I said, I got this little book called Changing Lives Through Coaching. And he said, I hate the title. And I said, okay, I understand. And he said, I want to introduce you to a guy named Mark LeBlanc. I'm going to take you to this Achiever Circle. Mark LeBlanc was the president of the National Speakers Association. And I go to this 3-day event with Mark LeBlanc and changed my whole life, because then I understood how to sell coaching. Then I understand how to have a business system. Then I got involved in the National Speakers Association. Then I saw people like Nito Cobain and Randy Gage and some of the top speakers in the world. I'm sitting in a room, and it all started by me knocking on my neighbor's door saying, I want to do what you do for a living. How do I do it? Everybody see that? Some of you know who can help you, but you won't knock on the door. Right? Some of you know how to, it's like, this person could help me get there. But you sit for years and you think about it and you sleep on it. So what are the targets you're trying to hit? The B goal, a dream, a vision, a potential, a purpose, a happiness. Do you know I have a happiness project? I write down what makes me happy. I write down a fulfillment project. What gives me fulfillment? I pursue those things. I pursue happiness. I pursue fulfillment. I don't sit and wait on it to come to me. I pursue it, right? And I pursue it with intensity because I believe business is like sport. Business is sport. And you got to learn how to win at business, because business is sport. So for you, you may be saying tonight, man, I need an intensity in my life. I need a new game to play. So what I do is I sit down with my notebook and I draw up the games I think I want to play. Let me give you some examples. I go, man, I want to raise capital. I'd like to raise capital. I'd like to scale the greatness factory. I'd like to figure out some kind of technology play. I'd like to structure my coaching in a way that this is the way I want to do it. I'd like to, right? There's all these things that you start going, man, I'm interested in this and I'm interested in that. But you come back and you say you're too busy. And we call that too busy being fabulous. You're too busy being fabulous to pursue your dreams. So I wrote down business is sport. You need a new game to play. You need to activate the drive by a sense of mental subtraction where your back's against the wall. You need to create where your back's against the wall so that you come out fighting. You need to get that intensity back where you're pursuing something. This is why I love sports. It took me 10 years to win a championship, folks. Really took me 13 years. And every year I woke up and it's like it gave me a new game to play. I got a new team. I got a new goal. Okay. You need an environment. So you need a timeline and an environment. You need a timeline and an environment. You need a competition. And you may even need an embarrassment. Okay. Embarrassment is an incredibly powerful motivator. Everybody with me? Now, when I'm in Nashville, I have this condo on the 35th floor of the 505, which is where the Greatness Factory is. And on the 45th floor are billionaires, 4 billionaires up on the 45th floor of the 505. Taylor Swift had a condo there, and there's a hedge fund manager up there, and Tony Giarratana, who built the 505, has a 2-story penthouse there. And you get on that elevator, and one day I got on the elevator and I pushed 35, way up, overlooking the city. It's beautiful. And the guy got on the elevator with me and he pushed 45. And I go, damn it. You got me, you know? And I'm like, that's awesome. I said, man, what do you do for a living? Like, how did you get up on the 45th floor? It's $10 million penthouses up there. Like 2 stories, crazy views. bath, big shower, the bathtub overlooking the city. Like, it's crazy. I'm like, what did you do to get up there? And he's like, well, I did this and I did this and I did this and I sold this company. And I go, okay, I understand. I said, man, I have a condo here on 35. I'd like to get up to 45. And I'd love to spend some time with you sometime. Just talking to you about how to get up in the big leagues. You know what I'm saying? And you know what he said? Anytime, coach. You just tell me anytime you want to sit down and talk or have a cup of coffee or go across the street, or incredibly generous, because you know what people want to do? They want to help people. Right? Marceline told me today, she said, man, I would love to meet you in person. I said, I tell you what, you live in Canada? She said, yes. She said, I went through some hardships. I said, look, you find a way to get from Canada to Nashville. I'll find a way to get you a ticket to my conference. You with me? Like, if you want to come that bad and you really want to do it, then we'll figure out how to help you. Okay. So, but here's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in people who are interested in their potential. Would you agree? I'm not interested in people who ain't interested in their potential. I'm interested in people who go, I'm interested in this. So what's the fear here? I was thinking the other night, Kelly, in my opinion, there's 100 people on here, and we should have sold 100 tickets to activate from this 3-night series. Am I right or am I right? And I'm sitting there thinking, what is the fear that these folks have? Why would they invest in themselves? Now, the first thing they're going to say is, well, it's not for me. Coach could do that, but I can never do it. Or they're going to say, well, I can't do it because I don't have these skills. And I wrote down, I can't afford it, which is what a lot of people say. I can't afford, I don't have any spare money to do it. But here's my challenge for you. When Tim Story was 19 years old, he sold his car and he went to his mom and he said, I'm going to sell my car so I can go study under this guy. And his mom said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm investing in little Timmy Story and in his future and in his brand. And she said, what? Like, you're selling your car to go learn under somebody? She couldn't understand it. And he said, yeah, I'm investing in me. And he's the one who taught me the phrase, sometimes we live out of our sacrifice before we live out of our surplus. Okay. Now, I was raised by a single mom who got up and worked 2 and 3 jobs through the night. Okay. To make sure that anything her son wanted to go to, he always had a chance to go if he wanted to go. Did everybody see that? That woman scratched and clawed for everything we had. She never said to me, her whole life, we can't afford to do it. Never. If I wanted nice tennis shoes because the other kids had nice tennis shoes, she said, right? But with that came a responsibility. She said, nobody owes us anything. We're not entitled to anything. We're going to get up, we're going to show up, we're going to grow up, and we're going to deliver, right? And we'll go earn it. I'm not giving it to you. We're going to earn it. And she taught me the value of those things. So for some of you, it's like 3 nights is good with me. I think it's been a good series. I really do. But 3 nights is not going to change your life. Let's be honest. What's going to change your life is continued exposure. What's going to change your life is you making a commitment to getting in rooms with people, whether it be me or somebody else out there that does what I do for a living, but you going, I want a seat at the big table. I want a seat at the big table. Okay. And it doesn't, until you make that commitment, it ain't happening. What's going to happen is you're just going, if we did this a year from today or 2 years from today, we're right back here having the same talk over and over and over. So my encouragement to you is take a step. Now, Rod Williams, when you committed to my person of interest, I remember you telling me he committed to 6 months with me, a person of interest. He said, I don't even know how I'm going to pay for it, coach, but I'm going to figure it out. Is that what you told me, Rod? Yep. He said, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this, but I'm going to figure out a way to be coached by you. Now, here's what I suspect. 6 months from today, he'll have a new confidence. He'll have clarity over his message. He'll know his unique skills. He'll sell with the confidence, and he'll make every bit of that money back and probably threefold or more on what he invests in himself. I'm just the vessel that's going to be teaching him how to do it. He's investing in him. He ain't investing in me. Everybody see that? Okay. So this is the sale you got to make to yourself. The first sale you got to make to yourself is to your own self. Okay. So if you're out there and you're going, I can't afford to go to coach's conference. I can't get a ticket to Nashville. I got something going on that weekend. I can't do this. These are all limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves. Okay. And I've told myself these things, right? I've told myself these things. I'll be a good coach, but I'll never be a championship coach. That's what I've told myself for 4 or 5 years. I'll make a good living, but I'll never be I'll never be like some of these other guys, right? I'll write good books, but I'll never write New York Times best-selling books. Like these are the things I told myself for years until one day I made a simple decision. And I go, you know what? I'm going to quit emulating these people and I'm going to become one of these people. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be one of them. Okay. So if you're out there and you haven't booked a strategy call with one of our team members, you need to book a call. I don't care what you got to do and say, look, man, I want to do something with Coach. I want to come to the greatness factory. I want to see it. I want to be involved in it. I want it, right? And there's times I'm coming to cities. I'm coming to Dallas. I'm coming to Houston. We just announced where I'm doing something in Dallas, Houston. Where else, Kelly? West Palm. I mean, it ain't like I don't get out in the world and you can't come and see me somewhere, right? Because that's the one thing I want you to understand is you don't have to buy tickets to activate. I mean, obviously that's what this series has been about, is exposing you to what we can do and how we can help you. I'd love for you to come to activate, because I think it's going to change people's lives. I really do. Those 3 days are going to open people's minds. Those 3 days are going to open people's minds. Oh, the other thing is just book a strategy call and say, look, I don't know what I want to do. Okay. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something. Okay. I want to do something with Coach because I know he could help me. And that's the business we're in, guys. At the end of the day, that's the business we're in. Okay. So thank you for a great 3 nights. What I'd like to do is take a few questions here. We had about 100 to 115 people. Now, here's the sad part to me, Kelly. If this wasn't a warm up to the Trump-Biden debate tonight, folks, I don't know what is. Okay. If this wasn't a good prelude to the debate, presidential debate tonight to get you all warmed up here. Okay. Wayne Parker, Kelly said, when am I going to be in West Palm? August 6th. And I'm getting off a cruise ship. I'm doing a cruise for 500 real estate agents. And I'm getting off a cruise ship on that Monday and I'm going straight to West Palm. So get with Kelly. She's got the tickets. Tactical Connection, July 31st. July 31st at the Greatness Factory. All of this is at my website, or you can talk to Kelly at coachburt.com or Steve. Okay. I'm coming to Dallas on my birthday, August 17th. I'll be 48 years old. Who books a one-day workshop on their birthday? Okay. Because there ain't nothing else I'd rather be doing, guys, than coaching people. So August 17th on my birthday, I'll be in Dallas, Texas, doing 4 hours. It's called the Power Day with Coach Burt. I think they just put it up on my website today. So I'm doing Power Days in Houston. I'm doing a Power Day in Dallas. I'm doing Power Day in Competitive Intelligence in West Palm. Okay, so if I'm coming to a city near you, then, and it wouldn't hurt you to get on an airplane, folks, for you to travel somewhere. Go to a city you've never been in. Go get around it. Okay, so I think we've had a great 3 nights. Let's take a few questions here, Kelly. And if you're thinking about doing something with me, I mean, Sterling's on here. He's probably one of the most coachable dudes we've ever coached, Sterling Stokes. He came to the Greatness Factory last week and did pictures, got a new book out, right? It's like, he's committed, man. I used to ask my basketball players, where's Moshita Pettis? I used to ask my basketball players, I'd say the chicken lays an egg and she's involved. The hog gives his meat and he's committed. Which are you, the chicken or the hog? And the players say, I'm the hog, coach. That's right. That's what you got to do. All right, so let's take a few questions here. Raise your digital hand if you want to take a few questions, and I'll stay on a few more minutes with you tonight. We do want to book your strategy calls. Steve Floyd has got the strategy calls here, and he's great. Call him, and he'll locate your ambitions, and he'll explain the value of what we got going on and see if he can get you into something, okay? And we got programs that start at $197 a month, $997. Money should never be a problem with me. Okay, 197 a month, 997 a year. My Uber driver over here today in a Ram truck. I started talking about what I do, and he said, "Here's my business card. I'm interested." Okay. He said, "You got programs at 997?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I'm interested." Okay, good. Give me your card. Let's talk about it. So it's out there. Philip Stone, what's your question?
Thank you so much for hosting all 3 nights. It's been a kick in the tail for myself and so forth. So it's been great. I want to know kind of what your thoughts are on the days that you may not want to get up, or you have like that negative thought, or maybe some family relationships, close friends relationships are still bothering you from like a month ahead of time or a day ahead of time. How do you get past those things and really focus on that prey drive from that standpoint? Because it is sometimes it can be very difficult to get up, and you're
Yeah.
constantly thinking about that and so forth from that standpoint too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Steve Miller, thank you. He's a great student too. What if I told you that I wake up most days in negative town? If you saw all the problems I have to deal with as a coach every day, and the bigger my coaching programs have gotten, you would be shocked.
For sure.
That's and Joel Eisler is our chief problem solver, and he and I deal with some of the craziest stuff you've ever seen every day. I mean, it would blow your mind. Like, you follow me on social media and you think, oh, Coach Bert's got it made. I actually wake up a lot of days, and if I didn't know how, if I didn't have tools
Mm-hmm.
by nature, I can go all the way to negative town. I'm talking about when I first wake up. Like, I don't want to check emails because somebody's done something crazy. I don't want to, like I'm telling you, like there's days I don't even want to get out of bed. And I'm like, and I hate that because the bigger I've gotten and the more notoriety, the more problems I've had. And and it's like, I was like, what did we do to deserve this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought we just got up and helped people. So it's called fantasizing and catastrophizing. So one thing is, if you have a tendency to go to negative town, what happens is you can catastrophize, which means you go all the way to negative town. And so there's tools that I use. There's mental tools that I use where I literally karate chop it. If my mind starts to go to negative town, I karate chop. I recognize it first. And here's what I tell myself: I'm not going there today. I'm not going to negative town today. I live in creation. Nothing positive happens in negative town. Does everybody see that? Because my mind can go all the way there. So there's two things here. I don't wake up motivated. You may think I wake up motivated. Guys, I've been doing this 33 years. I woke up this morning tired because I've been doing events at 8 to 9 o'clock at night. Then I mess around the Greatness Factory for an hour and clean the floors. And then I get in bed at 10. And it's like, I wake up tired. And I'm like, all right, I got to get this prey drive going. So what do? I go to work physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So I do something physically, I do something mentally, I do something emotionally, I do something spiritually. Okay. And then I don't let myself go to negative town. And I say, I'm not going there today. I'm staying in creation mode because nothing positive happens in negative town. And I literally just talk myself out of that negativity. Now, I remember a time when I never woke up with anxiety. I didn't have much. I didn't have high expectations. I didn't have any money. I didn't, I remember never waking up with anxiety. And then all of a sudden I built all of this. And then I had all kinds of anxiety. And I was afraid of losing everything. And I thought, man, I'm going to lose everything I got. And I've been through everything you can imagine: lawsuits, people being crazy toward me, people taking money from me. If you knew what me and my wife have been through in our lifetime, you would shock you. And so it's very easy to go, I don't want to do this. Why don't I just play small? And why don't I play under the radar? And why do I not be known in the world? And why do I help all these people? And some of them appreciate it, and some of them don't. So it's like, I don't want to live there. It's like, I don't want to be that person who gives up because of a few negative people. So I just want you guys to really understand, when it comes to prey drive, even top performers do not wake up every day with their prey drive activated. They have to activate the drive, and they can go to negative town, Philip, just like everybody else can. Does that make sense? Like, right? You've heard me talk about being around Cardone. He was one of the most negative people I'd ever been around. And he would just tell you, I'm not a positive person. I'm a negative you know, he used to say just a negative redneck from Louisiana. That's what he would tell me. And he like, you watch him on TV and you think he's positive and he's upbeat, but he had a very negative, cynical nature. But he also had this genius side to him. But he could be negative very, very quickly. I remember speaking at 10X and I was like, hey man, I'm excited. And he's talking about how difficult it was, that Mandalay Bay was difficult to deal with, and he's never having a conference there again. And this is the first time we got to the conference, and I thought, man, but big time people can be negative, and they can go to negative town if you don't control it with certain mechanisms. Okay, good question.
Thank you.
Real good question. Sophia.
Hi, Coach. Thank you as well for hosting it the 3 days. I did have a question about, you mentioned that usually people are not motivated by like the potential, and I think that's 100% right. And you talked about making them relive the pain. And you put a couple of questions out there, but I wanted to ask you, like, on a sales advice, would you actually like make them relieve their pain every single time you connect with them, if it's like several touch points? And what other like ways do you actually do to do that?
Well, I think it was Jeremy Miner, great sales trainer, who I had dinner with in Phoenix one night, who said that to me. He said, "I have everything you need to know about sales. The number one thing is that people do not move unless they have some kind of pain. Very few people will move because of potential. Everybody on this call knows there's things they need to be doing that would improve their life. You wouldn't be here if you didn't believe that. But there's still something that holds you back from taking an action, whatever that action is. And so what he said is, where there's no pain, there's no change. So when you're on the phone with people, you got to make them not relive the negative, but like, how long are you going to stay here? How long have you been thinking about this? Like how many times are you going to talk about this? Like, would you like to be here at some point in the future? Or would you like to change that? Would you like my help? Okay. And that's kind of what he was saying there. So when I'm talking to people, I'm like, man, how long you been following me? 2 years? You watch me on social media every day. You get my morning messages. It's clear to me you want to do something bigger. Like how long are you going to stay there versus go here? Because I really can't help you till you commit to something. Okay. So that's really what I'm saying is people are more motivated by pain than they are potential. And it's sad. That's just the way the brain, I don't know why we're wired that way, but that's the way the brain is wired, right? It remembers 3 times more negative than it does positive. It's actually lazy until you tell it what to do. And many times in life, it doesn't happen unless there's some kind of pain. Right? Am I right? Yeah. Jana, am I right or am I right? See, Jana's still at the Greatness Factory. It's 8:05. Okay, still working, still grinding out. Right? Now, when you think about it, it's just one of those things. It's like, hey man, sometimes in life you just got to hit a roadblock before you go, I'm done. That's why I'm telling you, do the A to B exercise on Friday night when you're good and frustrated. And when you get frustrated enough, you'll be like, I'm out. It's time to do something better. I'm going to reach out to somebody who can help me. And that's a good thing. So value the plateau. Value the plateau. All right, 2 more. Daniel, and then Sam, and then I'm going to wrap it up with the bow.
Thank you so much for the 3 nights. So as the call was going on, I remembered something you said about, I think it was Eric White yesterday, that you mentioned the way he thinks very fast, and sometimes he might come off aggressive.
Yep.
So I'd like to know some insights from your view, how you can kind of handle that, because it might come off or you might get misunderstood in the process.
Well, you got to know. See, this is why studying the brain is so important. And many years ago, I hired a neuroscience expert, and he kind of taught me about the different parts of the brain and how the brain receives information. And the croc brain is the part of the brain that's literally scared of everything. So what it does is it moves into a defensive posture a lot, right? And if you're real intense, people can go, whoa, Okay. And sometimes when you're real intense and you put off a vibe and it's like, man, chill out a little bit. Okay. So vocal tonality is real important. Shifting gears. This is why if you study a guy like Jeremy Miner, he talks about different tones, the confused tones, like Daniel, right? It's like, I'm not sure, like why did you call? Are you interested in something? Like he teaches you these different tonalities because if it's just a boom, 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 okay, it's like it doesn't work with everybody. So sometimes you got to be intense, and sometimes you got to bring it down, and sometimes you got to talk. And that's what I'm really teaching Mike White is to control some of that intensity because it translates in hurried or rushed, right? And it's getting better. He sent me text messages. Sometimes I'm like, what are you talking about, man? It's like one word text messages. I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like speak English to me. But it's not a lack of effort. See, he's got intensity. It's like, how do we control this intensity? Right? That's really what we're trying to do there. That's a skill, by the way. Right? That is a skill. Okay. Now I want you to think too, if you got to have a really hard conversation with something, it takes a level of sophistication to be able to have a hard conversation with somebody that doesn't put them on the defensive. It's a skill, right? And it's a learned skill. And some people can do that and some people can't. So many times when there's a problem, I'll say, let me talk to them because I can talk to them from a perspective of win-win. I'm trying to get a win for you. I'm trying to get a win for me. You'd be shocked how much negotiating we do in a day, right? Just pure negotiating on concepts. And I mean, it's a lot. So it's a real skill to learn. It's a real skill to study how to communicate effectively with other people. Okay, good question. Sam, how you doing?
I was thinking that we started at 8 for whatever reason. I was just getting all my stuff done and I realized, oh my goodness, I just want to be in here early and I came late and I'm really, I apologize for that. But
Okay.
I today I've got super duper sick and I've kind of got like a little bit of his answer mixing with mine. But today, how do you handle getting sick? Like my physically ill, like my brain was
Yeah.
not like I had to sit with your last app thing, your last
Yeah.
message on your app. It was a
Yeah.
30-minute session, but like I had to sit with it literally 4 hours to like actually intake it. And I barely got like what I wanted out of it kind of thing. I know I got it, but I just kept listening to it and listening to it and listening to it, and it wasn't sinking in because my brain was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
rejecting everything. How would you deal with something like that?
Well, I don't know if I'm the right person to answer this question for you. Here's what I know. Here's what I do know. I do know that much of there's a lot of anxiety that people feel that physiologically create a lot of anxiety in your life. Okay. And when you're in that heightened state, it's like we just get so worked up on something and we can't control it, right? And we literally can't calm ourselves down, right? It's kind of like the cheetahs. When the cheetahs work themselves up, they literally have to calm their own self down. And I think when you're thinking about this, Sterling said box breathing. There's a lot of techniques. Okay, now what if I told you one time I was completely I got claustrophobic when I was on planes, and I would freak out. I freaked out once on an airplane. I got on a small plane, and I've been flying my whole life, and I just had a complete panic attack, and I could not. I mean, I got off the plane and drove 16 hours. You would think that'd be enough to get me over that anxiety, a 16-hour drive. And let me tell you how I overcame it. I was scheduled to speak in Princeton, New Jersey, at Princeton University. And I was so nervous. And I speak the very next day in Knoxville, Tennessee. And there were two flights that could get me there. Okay. And one was on a small plane and one was on a big plane. Okay. And I booked two flights. This is how nervous I was. I literally booked two flights, one on a big plane, one on a small plane. And I'm on a bus or something getting to New Jersey. And I said, I got a flight out of New Jersey to get to Knoxville tomorrow. And a person said to me, you've never been in New Jersey traffic, have you? And I said, no. They said, you'll never make the flight. in Jersey on that big plane. Never. You'll be there for hours. You're going to have to fly out of this little airport close to Princeton on that small plane. And I was a nervous wreck. And I literally had no other choice. It's like I used all these breathing techniques, and I had a fan on my face, and I was listening to things. I was pacing around the airport, and I don't even know where it came from. It's like I just had this paralyzing fear. And I got myself together, and I got on the plane and took deep breaths, and I did all this stuff. The next thing you know, and once I did it one time, I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. I literally had to face the fear, to fight through the fear, to be able to do it. And I never forget that. I never forget that one thing that I just had to hit it straight forward. So there's a lot of techniques that you can use. Like I said, I don't know that I'm the best person to answer that question, but I think everybody struggles with physiological things from time to time that affect their learning, and it affects their life.
And would I be able to ask a couple more questions? I had wrote it down in the thing, but I live in low income housing. There's really, really fancy people that live kind of next door, and I'm really, really interested in them. But so I guess just the thing is, read the book that you gave me yesterday. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm trying to learn how to walk before I learn how to fly before I know how to walk. So maybe just read the book and trust the process, because
right. Yeah, and when I walk up to people, I just walk up to them and be humble and say, "Hey, man, I'd really like to learn from you. I think and I'd really like to meet you." It's like you'd be shocked how many people get nervous around other people when they meet them, because they've created something in their mind, and they get nervous. So that's what I did with my neighbor. I just walked over to him, said, "Hey, Mr. Stoner, okay, I'd like to be a motivational speaker. I understand, maybe you could help me." He said, "I'd love to." So think about that.
thank you very much, Coach Michael.
Hey, thank you for being coachable. All right, guys, it's been a great night. It's been a great 3 nights. It's been a great 3 nights. Book your strategy call with Steve Floyd. Book your ticket to activate Thursday night, Friday, Saturday. It won't be a game changer. It'll be a life changer. If you think this has been good, just come and get in the room. It'll be way better in the room than it will be on a virtual. Okay. So get your strategy call book for all the people. Thank you for doing that. And if you got questions, if you're working with Steve or Kelly or Jana or Sebastian or whoever you're working with on my team, just reach out to them and go, "Hey, this is what I'd like to do. How do we make it happen?" And I promise you, they won't bite. They're all wonderful people who will be now Joel, he may bite. He's got a little bit of Coach Burt Prey drive in him. Okay, but I'm just kidding. All right, so the link, so you guys post the link in there. The strategy call link, and Kelly, you post the link for these folks. CJ, good to see you. Thank you. There's the Activate tickets that are 50% off. I forgot to even tell you guys that. They're 50% off if you want to come to Activate. Okay. And the other is a strategy call. Okay. So book that. And if you forget everything, just email Kelly at coachburt.com. She'll be able to help you. Okay. All right. Love you guys. Have a great night. Thank you for 3 great nights. I love you. I owe you. Thank you. I owe you. Everybody needs a coach in life. Thank you for letting me be yours over the last 3 nights, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.